The Silent Challenge. In the sprawling expanse of the Orion Arm, where countless stars pulsed with ancient light, the celestial conclave had ruled unchallenged for over 7,000 years. Composed of 12 advanced species, each with their own fleet of warships and planetary systems, the conclave dictated the fate of lesser civilizations with casual indifference. Their massive citadel, a ring station constructed around a captured neutron star, served as both their seat of power and a testament to their technological supremacy. Today, however, the grand chamber of the conclave was filled with an unusual buzz of anticipation. After centuries of isolation and refusal to acknowledge galactic authority, humans had finally responded to the conclave's ultimatum: submit or be eradicated. The terms were simple. Earth would surrender its independence, accept conclave oversight, and contribute resources like all other subjugated worlds. The alternative wasn't worth contemplating. The conclave had erased entire civilizations for lesser infractions. Admiral Zixvan of the Trilari Dominion, his crystalline exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's ambient light, stood at the viewport watching the arrival coordinates. "They've agreed to our terms, then." His voice resonated with the distinctive harmonic quality of his species. High Chancellor Morith, the eldest of the Elorian Council and de facto leader of the conclave, clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "They've responded. Whether its agreement remains to be seen." The quantum sensors chimed, signaling an incoming vessel. All 12 representatives of the conclave species turned expectantly toward the main viewing portal. There was a brief flash of light as space folded. And then, silence. Where most expected to see a fleet of Earth's finest warships, there floated a single vessel, barely the size of a standard long-range cruiser. For a moment, the chamber remained silent as the representatives processed what they were seeing. Then laughter, starting as a low rumble and growing to fill the chamber. This is their response. Admiral Zixvan's crystalline body vibrated with amusement. A single ship. Have they sent their surrender delegation? Korvax Duel, the hulking representative of the Brunari Collective, slammed his massive fist against the council table. "This is an insult. They mock us with this toy." The laughter continued as the ship, identified as the EFS Defiance, maintained its position, making no attempt to communicate or approach the conclave station. Its design was unusual, with smooth, almost organic curves rather than the angular, aggressive profiles favored by most spacefaring races. It bore no visible weapons, thrusters, or even standard communication arrays. "Perhaps," mused Televol, the serpentine ambassador of the Sith-Aryan enclave, "they have misunderstood the nature of our ultimatum. They may believe this is a negotiation." Chancellor Morith raised a clawed appendage for silence. "Open a channel to the human vessel. Let us hear what excuse they offer for this inadequate response." The communication officer complied, and the massive holographic display at the center of the chamber flickered to life. The image that appeared surprised them all. A single human, a female with dark skin and closely cropped silver hair, sitting alone in what appeared to be a minimalist command center. No crew, no subordinates, just her. "I am Captain Elena Vega of the Earth Federation, Ship Defiance," she said, her voice steady and unnervingly calm. "I bring the response of humanity to your ultimatum." Admiral Zixvan stepped forward. "Where is your fleet, human? Where are your diplomats, your military command? Do you think one ship, one person, is sufficient to address the celestial conclave?" Captain Vega's expression remained unchanged. "We determined that one ship would be adequate for this encounter." Fresh laughter erupted around the chamber. Even Chancellor Morith's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among her kind. "You have two options," Vega continued, ignoring their derision. "You can withdraw your ultimatum and recognize Earth's sovereignty, or you can witness a demonstration of why we sent only one ship." The laughter abruptly died, replaced by indignant murmurs. "Is this a threat?" Korvax Duel growled, his massive form tensing. "You threaten the conclave with a single unarmed vessel. Not a threat, Vega replied. An observation of fact. Your scans already tell you my ship carries no conventional weapons. What they cannot tell you is what it does carry. Chancellor Morith leaned forward, her compound eyes glittering with curiosity and the first hints of unease. Enlighten us, Captain Vega. Humanity has chosen a different path of technological development, Vega explained. While the Conclave races perfected energy weapons, faster than light travel, and planetary shields, we looked inward. We studied the fundamental laws of reality itself. Spare us your primitive philosophy, sneered Televal. It's not philosophy, Vega said quietly. The Defiance isn't powered by antimatter or fusion. It's powered by probability manipulation. A confused silence fell over the chamber. We don't bend space or harness energy, Vega continued. We alter the likelihood of events. My ship doesn't need weapons because, at a quantum level, we can simply increase the probability of your systems failing. We don't need shields because we can make your weapons miss with 100% certainty. Admiral Zix-Van scoffed. Absurd. Such technology is theoretically impossible. A demonstration, then, Vega said, her finger hovering over a control on her console. I've just activated a low-level field. I suggest you check your station's primary power grid. Chancellor Morith gestured to a technician, who immediately began examining the station's systems. His expression changed from dismissive to concerned, and finally to alarmed. High Chancellor, he reported, his voice trembling. 3 of our 5 redundant power cores have experienced simultaneous cascade failures. The statistical probability of this is virtually 0. Vega finished for him. Unless someone changes what's probable. The atmosphere in the chamber transformed instantly from mockery to tension. Guards moved to defensive positions, and several representatives began issuing orders to their fleet commanders through personal communicators. You've made your point, Captain, Chancellor Morith said carefully. But a parlor trick with our power systems doesn't prove you could stand against our combined fleets. No, Vega agreed. But this might. She pressed another button. Outside the station, in the void of space where 12 battle fleets floated in perfect formation, a remarkable event occurred. Without warning or visible cause, every third ship in each fleet simply drifted. Their lights flickered and died, their engines fell silent, and they began to rotate slowly, dead in space. 1/3 of your fleet has just experienced a simultaneous failure of their primary systems, Vega explained, her voice still eerily calm. No crew have been harmed, but those ships are now inoperable. The probability of such an event occurring naturally across 12 different species technology simultaneously is so close to 0 that your mathematicians don't have a notation for it. The chamber erupted in chaos. Threats, demands, and calls for immediate military action filled the air. Chancellor Morith raised all 4 of her appendages, calling for order. This is an act of war, she declared when the noise had subsided. No, Vega countered. This is a demonstration of why war with humanity would be unwise. We could have disabled all of your ships. We could have increased the probability of your station's containment field failing. We didn't. Admiral Zix-Van's crystalline form had lost some of its luster, a sign of extreme stress among his kind. What do you want, human? What we've always wanted. To be left alone. To develop in our own way, at our own pace. Earth will not submit to the Conclave. We will not surrender our resources or our autonomy. And if we refuse? Chancellor Morith asked, though her voice lacked its earlier confidence. Captain Vega's expression softened slightly. Then we'll be forced to demonstrate what happens when we turn the probability field to its highest setting. I can promise you, it won't be pleasant for anyone involved. You have 6 hours to recall your fleets from Earth's solar system and formally recognize our independence. The communication ended, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. The representatives of the 12 most powerful species in the known galaxy stared at each other, then at the small, unassuming ship that floated outside their station. A ship that had, in less than 10 minutes, upended the balance of power that had stood for 7 millennia. Chancellor Morith was the first to speak. Verify her claims. I want to know if this probability manipulation is real or some form of elaborate deception. But deep down, as she watched the disabled ships floating helplessly in formation, she already knew the answer. The galaxy had changed, and the celestial conclave would never be the same again. The reckoning. 6 hours passed like a slow-motion supernova, tension building with each passing minute. In the grand chamber of the celestial conclave, emergency sessions raged as the 12 dominant species of the galaxy debated furiously. Outside, engineers and technicians worked frantically to restore power to the disabled ships, but to no avail. Whatever Captain Vega had done, it defied their most advanced diagnostic tools. "This is impossible," muttered Chief Engineer Dravix, his tentacles twitching with frustration as he examined the data streaming from the affected vessels. "There's no damage, no malfunction we can identify. The systems simply refuse to function in sequence. It's as if the laws of causality have been rewritten for these ships." High Chancellor Morith had aged visibly in the past hours, her exoskeleton dulling with stress. "And your assessment of the human claims? This probability manipulation." Theoretically, Dravix hesitated. It's not entirely implausible. All quantum systems operate on probability. If one could control those probabilities at a fundamental level, they could make the improbable inevitable. Admiral Zix Von finished, his crystalline form now clouded with concern. But the energy requirements alone should make such technology impossible. "Unless," interjected Televal, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, "they've discovered something we haven't. An underlying principle or energy source we've overlooked." The conversation was interrupted by a junior officer who approached with visible trepidation. "High Chancellor, we've completed the analysis of the human vessel. There's something you need to see." The main display activated, showing a cross-section scan of the Defiance, where they expected to find conventional ship systems, engines, weapons arrays, life support. There was instead a single pulsing core of energy, unlike anything in the Conclave's extensive databases. "What are we looking at?" demanded Korvax Dole. "We don't know," admitted the officer. "Our best guess is some sort of quantum field generator, but it doesn't match any known technology. And there's more. The ship appears to be thinking. Chancellor Morith's compound eyes narrowed. "Explain." "The energy patterns resemble neural networks, but on a quantum scale. It's as if the entire ship is a single conscious entity." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just developed a new weapon. They'd created an entirely new form of intelligence, one integrated with technology at a level the Conclave had never achieved. 5 hours remain in their ultimatum, Admiral Zix Von noted grimly. "We must decide." "There is nothing to decide," roared Korvax Duel, slamming his massive fist down again. "We cannot allow this challenge to stand. For 7,000 years, the Conclave has ruled unchallenged. If we yield to these primitives, every subjugated world will rise against us." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Pride, as much as strategy, demanded a response. "Then we shall respond with force," Chancellor Morith declared. "Prepare all functioning vessels for coordinated attack. Target their quantum core. No matter how they manipulate probability, they cannot withstand the combined firepower of our remaining fleets." The order went out, and the massive armada of the Conclave, still 2/3 of the most powerful military force in the galaxy, moved into attack formation around the lone human ship. Inside the Defiance, Captain Alina Vega watched the approaching fleets with an expression of resignation rather than fear. She opened a channel to the Conclave station. "You've made your choice." "Then," she stated, not as a question, "you leave us no alternative." Chancellor Morith responded. "The Conclave cannot and will not be held hostage by a single vessel, no matter how advanced. Surrender now, and perhaps we can reach an accommodation." Vega shook her head slowly. We try to avoid this. Before I demonstrate what happens at the highest setting, there's something you should understand about humanity." As she spoke, the fleets continued to close in, weapons charging, targeting systems locked on the small human vessel. "In our history," Vega continued, "humanity has faced extinction many times. Disease, war, environmental collapse. We've stood at the precipice repeatedly. Each time, we survived not through strength alone, but through adaptation and innovation. When conventional solutions failed, we found unconventional ones." "Spare us your history lesson," snarled Korvac's duel. "It will be irrelevant soon enough." "You mock what you don't understand," Vega replied, her voice taking on a harder edge. "When Earth detected your first probes in our system a century ago, we knew we couldn't match your conventional technology in time. So we chose a different path. We devoted all our resources to a single branch of quantum physics that your civilizations overlooked. The first wave of Conclave ships opened fire. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Defiance from all directions, a lethal storm that should have atomized the vessel instantly. None of them connected. Without visible defenses or evasive maneuvers, the attack simply missed. Energy beams curved impossibly around the ship. Torpedoes veered off course at the last moment, detonating harmlessly in empty space. "Probability manipulation isn't just a defensive technology," Vega explained as the stunned Conclave forces prepared for a second volley. "It's a fundamental reimagining of what's possible. We can make the probability of your attacks succeeding effectively zero. But more importantly, we can make the probability of specific outcomes approach certainty." Even as she spoke, strange phenomena began to manifest throughout the Conclave fleet. Communication systems spontaneously linked between ships that should have been incompatible. Weapon systems that had been aimed at the Defiance suddenly found themselves targeting other Conclave vessels. Navigation computers independently calculated identical emergency jump coordinates. "What is happening?" demanded Chancellor Morith, watching in horror as disorder spread through their formation. "A high setting," Vega answered simply. "We're not attacking you. We're simply increasing the probability of events that expose the truth." "What truth?" Admiral Zixvan asked, his voice barely audible. "That the celestial conclave is built on lies." As if triggered by her words, the central database of the conclave station activated, projecting classified files into the grand chamber for all representatives to see. Archives that had been sealed for millennia played out in vivid detail, showing how the founding species had deliberately sabotaged emerging civilizations, manipulated evolutionary paths, and engineered conflicts to maintain their dominance. This is treason," Chancellor Morith shrieked. "How are you accessing these files?" "We're not," Vega said quietly. "We simply increase the probability of your own systems revealing what they contain. The truth was always there, waiting to emerge." Throughout the fleet, similar revelations were occurring. Crew members discovered suppressed histories of their own worlds. Military officers learned how their civilizations had been deliberately held back. The carefully maintained hierarchy of the Conclave was unraveling in real time as 7,000 years of secrets spilled into the open. "You've doomed us all," whispered Chancellor Morith, watching as communication channels flooded with questions, accusations, and outrage from across the galaxy. "The Conclave will collapse. Perhaps," Vega acknowledged, "or perhaps something better will replace it. Either way, humanity will not submit to an empire built on deception." The attack had completely fallen apart. Some ships were retreating, others were turning on former allies, and many simply held position, their crews too stunned by revelations to act. "We came here today with one ship," Vega continued, "not because we're weak, but because we've evolved beyond the need for displays of conventional power. We could have sent a fleet, but that would have merely continued the cycle of arms races and intimidation that has stagnated this galaxy for millennia." She leaned forward, her expression softening slightly. "This is our final offer. Earth will join a new galactic community, but as equals, not subjects. We'll share our technology, including probability manipulation, with all species. No hierarchies, no subjugation, just collective advancement. For several minutes, the chamber remained silent as the representatives of the 12 conclave species processed everything that had occurred. Their world had been upended not by superior firepower, but by a fundamental shift in what they believed possible. Finally, Admiral Zix Von spoke, his crystalline form resonating with a new frequency, one that the others recognized as the rarely expressed emotion of humility. For 7,000 years, he said slowly, we have ruled through force and fear, believing it the only way to maintain order. In a single day, one human ship has proven us wrong. He turned to Chancellor Morith. I move that we accept their terms, not because we must, but because they offer a better path forward than the one we've traveled. One by one, the other representatives signaled their agreement, some reluctantly, others with visible relief. Chancellor Morith, recognizing the inevitable, gave her assent last. Very well, she said, her once commanding voice now subdued. The celestial conclave accepts your terms, Captain Vega. May we not come to regret this day. I believe you'll come to see it as the beginning of something extraordinary, Vega replied, a genuine smile transforming her features. Humanity doesn't want to rule or replace the conclave. We want to help transform it into something that benefits all species, not just a privileged few. As the formal agreements were drafted, a new era began for the galaxy. The day that started with mockery of a single human ship ended with the foundations of a new order, one built on cooperation rather than domination. 3 months later, the Defiance returned to Earth orbit, its mission complete. Captain Vega stood at the viewport, watching her home planet grow larger in the display. Behind her, representatives from 37 formerly subjugated worlds worked alongside conclave scientists, learning the principles of probability manipulation. Was it worth it? Asked her second-in-command, breaking the comfortable silence, revealing our greatest technological advantage to maintain peace. Vega smiled. Some would say we should have kept it secret, used it to become the new rulers of the galaxy. She shook her head. But that's the thinking that trapped the conclave in a cycle of dominance and resistance for 7 millennia. Humanity chose a different path. And if someone misuses the technology, he pressed, then we'll face that challenge together. As a galactic community, she replied, turning away from the viewport. After all, humanity's greatest strength was never our technology. It was our ability to imagine possibilities where others saw only threats. As the Defiance docked with Earth's orbital station, news of its arrival spread across the planet. The ship that had left as a bold experiment had returned as the symbol of a new age. Proof that sometimes, one ship is all it takes to change the course of a galaxy. Retriclaude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. 3.7 Sonnet.